Hi everyone, Rob Kamas here from RedTech Associates. Good morning from Sydney. So based on the last email we sent around Cloud for Health and the different compliance tools that you'll probably need to look at to facilitate secure work from home strategies, or in general it is good practice to have compliance around cloud computing. We had an incredible amount of feedback about different organizations wanting demonstrations. And for the sake of efficiency, I thought I'll create this generic demonstration of Cloud for Health. And then, for those entities or people that want more in-depth demos, we can organize this. So there's a bit of an agenda. It's going to be a 10 to 15 minute demonstration altogether. So I'll try and fly through it. The agenda is how to securely access Cloud for Health, an introduction of Cloud for Health, the single sign-on and why we've put in single sign-on into that platform, document management, secure file sharing, launching traditional hosted applications. So for those that don't know what I'm talking about, it's like your Genie or Best Practice, Medical Director, or MyOp, the applications that are hosted on cloud infrastructure, the compliance tools, using the Workplace app, and finally just the high-level architecture of the platform around load balancers, firewalls, and so on. So I'd probably say the first 70% of it is really straightforward, it's just a demo, and maybe the last 30 to 20% is a little bit more technical. So look, let's just get started. All you need for Cloud for Health is a Wi-Fi connection or internet connection, a web browser, and you'll probably need to install Citrix Receiver. It's here somewhere. So to get started, a quick introduction. So Cloud for Health is a flavor of another product called Cloud Hive. Now, Cloud Hive centralizes your entire IT infrastructure, I suppose, by bringing in access to multiple servers, multiple hosted infrastructure environments through the one screen. So if you think about it, for those that will know what I'm talking about, if you use a jump server that you log into, and from that server you'll remote into 6 or 7 other 8 servers, you don't do that with Cloud Hive. It's all within one screen, so it ensures you have the same experience, but it's a secure, segregated environments. Now, we really like the platform. This was years and years ago, but it was lacking a few things around how it could work for the healthcare industry. Around printer redirection, around more compliance, longer backups, and so on. So we were able to customize the platform and make it into our own little flavor, Cloud for Health. So to get started, you launch your web browser. You go to the login screen, login.cloudhive.com. Now this could also change. So this is where everything starts. We call this the Angry Secretary. So essentially, you're asked to do a number of things here. Obviously, log in with your username and password. Now, if you have multiple factor authentication, after you log in, you'll be asked to put in a secret code that gets sent to you as an SMS. If you're authorized to log in from this IP address, you will be able to. We can lock people so they can only log in from a specific IP address that is within the actual physical building that they work in. They can only log in using compliant devices via MAC address, for example. So there are 30 or 40 different security rules we can get them to access it. So the first thing I'll do here is I'll put in the username. Health. Now I'll put in the password. Okay. So now it's given me access, so I am compliant, I can access this platform. So the first thing you're welcomed with is what we call the web top. Now you'll see here something really cool. So you see a mix of web applications like your Asana, your Xero, but also you'll see hosted traditional applications. We're talking about maybe clinical applications like Genie, like Medical Director, and you can also launch a virtual desktop. So first thing we'll start with is just launching a single sign-on app. So let's say it's Xero. Now, why did we do this, right? So one of the issues that we see with web applications is that, yes, you can have multiple factor authentication, so you can, definitely secure the login and show who logged in, but how would you stop them? So a question is, if I'm starting a new healthcare entity and I'm using one of the new healthcare applications, right? Now I want to be able to make sure that unauthorized staff cannot access this web application from outside the clinic or outside working hours. You can't do that. you can do multiple factor authentication, and maybe they could leave the mobile phone at work, I suppose. That's not practical. So one of the issues we saw is that, we don't want people to log in to the web applications outside the businesses if the business owners don't want them to do that. The other thing is, platform fatigue. How many usernames and passwords could you possibly have? So we knew that, down the track, and it's happening now, more and more healthcare entities and corporates will rely on web applications, which means their staff will need to rely on remembering X amount of usernames and passwords, and understanding, if you're going to use Google Authenticator versus secure SMS or something like that. So single sign-on is embedded into here. You can add a library of web applications. So here, we've just added 0. So the way it will work is I've already installed the Workplace plugin into my default browser. Now, my company manager, so the person who would have set this up, let's assume I'm a staff member, would have already set up my username and password for 0. So I don't know my username and password. This means that even if I was to go outside the platform and log in, I don't know my username and password. I can only log in via this platform. And I can only have access to this platform if I am authorized to. So it's easy to enable someone to use this platform, but let's say you're letting go of a staff member and they've got 13 or 14 different web apps, you can just turn off their access without being afraid that they're going to log in. So click on 0, it'll initialize the single sign-on. Now I've got a demo account here, and this will log me in straight away. And now, obviously, now I can just use my Google Authenticator and log in. So 5891. Now, the idea of this again is that we want to be able to give our clients and the users of Cloud for Health the ability to stop web access for their staff. But also we want to give their staff the ability to access all these different products and tools without remembering the usernames and passwords, without writing them down on their desktops or on notepads, without sharing these usernames and passwords. You just log into the platform and you have access to everything. So if I go to websites here, I can add more and more applications if I want to. We just use Outlook here, Asana and Xero for the sake of this demo. So that's how single sign-on works. Cool. The next part is document management. So let's assume that you're an entity, and large or small, but especially this is for the large entities, you probably have, a file server, or use SharePoint, or, OneDrive, or, something like this. And you want to be able to share your documents securely, but without the need of giving someone access into the actual virtual desktop. So in here, you can click on Files, and we have 3 different folders, core folders. Public, anything here is available to your organization, right? So, Rent Medical, all the staff will be able to see what's in public. If I go back to groups, so this is, your finance group, this is your executive group, your clinical group. Only those with access to those groups will be able to see these folders. And finally, your personal. So this is, only me, the user here, the end user, can see what's in here. And this is really important because this can integrate with a number of things, right? So this can integrate with the web apps that you launch, which means the web apps that you launch can browse the files on the platform as well as those on your desktop computer, right? So if we've got files saved in OneDrive and I've launched Xero and I need to attach some receipts, I can browse here on my cloud files and also on my local files if needed. This is also important in the sense where my hosted applications can also view these files. So if I've got a scan folder where it scans directly here, or some sort of a documents folder, Medical Director, Genie, Blue Chip, all those ones, we'll be able to see these files. Now finally, and the biggest reason for this is the link sharing. So secure file sharing. How do we do this? Hi Anthony, test file, and I would like to share it with the outside world. So I'm going to click here on share, and I've presented with 3 options. Public. Public means that anyone who has this link can access the file, and all I have to do is copy it and email it to them. So let's do this. Oops. So it's loading, and now anyone with this link can access this document. Cool. So where do we use this? when we're sharing sensitive information, public information, sorry. The second option, now let's break this link. If I click on share again, I'm presented with two other options. This is for sensitive information, tracked and private. So tracked means that it's publicly shared, but you'll only be able to access it if you enter in your mobile number. And then you're presented with a code, right? And then once you put in the code, you'll have access to this document. So this tells us who's accessed it. So let's say I've got a solutions catalog that I'd like to share with the outside world, and I want to know who's accessed it. Anyone can, provided they put in a mobile number. So 0424, obviously that's not my mobile number. Someone's going to get a text message now. Apologies about that. And they would get a code. They'll put that code in, and then they'll able to see the document. And finally, the third method, and this is for secure file sharing. So this is what we suggest people use when they're securing really hypersensitive documents, is you attach the document to someone's mobile number. So just this random number here. Okay, I'm just going to copy it. Add phone number. So now only the person with this phone number can access this document. Let me just paste this here. Okay, so show link, copy. So now let's assume I've emailed this to someone, or someone's had access to an email with this secure document, and they're presented with this screen, and they try and put in any mobile number. Request access. The number you entered is invalid. However, if I was to put in this number here, and this is the authorized number, see, now I'm presented with a code. So again, one of the benefits of this platform is that we try and bring in as many compliance solutions as possible without breaking the workflows. So we've got single sign-on with compliance around it. The staff don't know their usernames and passwords for their web apps. They only know that they need to access it through this and then go on. Now some of you will say, well, no, because they can reset their passwords from within the application. Yes, but there are ways to work around it. Most of the applications can disable the functionality for the users to reset their passwords. So if your staff were to log in from here and try and change the password, they can't. And you can also use alias emails. So sso.rob@rent.com.au, which I don't have access to, but that's my login email. So we've gone through the files now, and the secure file sharing. Now, launching hosted applications. So we know that most healthcare businesses and most organizations have a mix of, web applications, SaaS products, and also traditional apps. And we want to bring this whole experience from the one screen. So let's assume that I'm launching a Genie demo here, right? It's a single click, and obviously, only authorized users can see the Genie platform and they can access it. Now we do a single click, it calls on Citrix, and Citrix will then create the session, right? So personally for me, I like seeing the applications against my normal desktop. I don't like launching a virtual desktop. So that's how I generally use Cloud for Health. And and now you've logged in, no, not yet, and so on. So I've launched Genie. I think if I was go to printers, it should pick up all my local printers anyway through Citrix. Oh, oopsie, it'll be this one here. So these are all my local printers through Citrix anyway. Don't have many because it's an empty brand new computer. So close this. Now the other option that I could do, and some users aren't comfortable, they're used to your traditional virtual desktop, is I can just launch the whole virtual desktop. So you can have from one of the two options. My preference is not to launch an entire virtual desktop. I'd still prefer to just launch it, the application itself, a published application. And again, it's via Citrix, opens up your profile, and there you go. Right. So this is a demo platform. All our hosted servers now are 2016 or 2019. This one's in old 2008. And from here, same thing. But let me show you something actually. So if I go to computer, see my files here? those are the same ones from outside the platform, the Hello Anthony file. So you can have access to your files if you have authority, and if we've set it up for you this way, from inside the platform, outside the platform, or you don't have access to files at all. So now we've gone through the hosted applications, how we launch the hosted applications. Let's go through a bit of compliance, I suppose. Let me just go to manage and all account activities. So you'll see there's a complete audit log of who's accessed what, right? So I've signed into 0 from this IP address at this time, this date, from this location. Cool. And this audit log is available to the company, so you can't just delete it. I signed in, and so on. I created a link, I shared a folder. So there's a complete audit trail of all the activities that I've gone through today, and this is yesterday, and so on. Cool. So this is one of the tools around compliance. We can also, go to a classic web top, which we don't use that anymore, and there's a function called show me. So this is really cool. Now, if you wanted to learn how to sign out or share a file, let's go share a file. So share a file. Just click on this, and the platform actually tells you what to do. You click on files, select what you want to share. So let's go public. Select the folder you'd like to share or the file. So click next. And these are the shared files, everything that I've shared. And finally, search in terms of file management. So if you've got, terabytes of data and you're looking for a specific folder, instead of going through and browsing through, just type hi Anthony, and there it is. Okay, so we've gone now through a bit of compliance, and this is how we access the platform via the web application. Once you've finished, you sign out, and that's it. Right? Now, there is another way to access the platform, and this is what we use at Rentec Associates, and this is what I recommend for our clients to use. So while this is signing out and closing all my sessions, there's a workplace app. You install this locally on your computer, right? It's a little bit hard to explain, but it mimics your web portal. So you log in, user.renthealth, and you can stay signed in. Now it's authorizing me. Am I able to access this? Yep. The stars have aligned. Everything is good. This is my workplace. See, this is the exact same screen that I had in the web portal. My web apps, my traditional apps. If I was to go to recently synced, so there's nothing to sync, but see this little icon here? Open workplace files. The same folders that I had on the cloud. So this is like your secure Dropbox. So it integrates with your local applications, your local environment. So let's say you're working on offline, right? And you're working on some proposals or whatever it is, or you've got one of these old scanners that has to scan to a local folder. You can come here. Oh, hang on, let's go to the public one because we've been working with that. So there's hi Anthony and so on. We can create a new folder called scans. Right, and we can get the old scanner, hopefully you don't have one of these, to scan here. You can drag and drop files and so on. Now if I was to go back here, the same user experience, right? So if I was to log into 0, single click, it'll do my single sign-on into 0. Cool. Launching Genie, let's just launch Genie again. And obviously, you can have your Microsoft Office solutions. It integrates with your G Suite. You can federate access. You can do hybrid Active Directory, so all the technical stuff. It's a really, really rich and comprehensive platform. And see, there's Genie again. So I didn't have to log in into the web browser, and I don't have to log in every single time. Finally, compliance. So I can set this platform where only compliant devices, 100% compliant, can access Workplace locally, right? So I don't have screensaver enabled, and my hard drive is not encrypted. So if I enforce this policy, so for those, for example, entities that have staff working from home, you can say to them, look, you can use your personal devices provided they meet all of the following, any of the following, or none of the following. And you can enforce this, right? So this is how we help Cloud4Health clients and our clients specifically in knowing that when their staff are accessing the platform, they're enforcing their policies. Up-to-date computers, it's not a Windows 7. You meet all these requirements and so on. And look, that's pretty much it for the demo. I think you guys would have seen everything by now. And finally, like a little bit of the architecture of the platform. Let's just keep this here. Don't want to sign out. So, Cloud4Health is hosted in 2 data centers in Australia, Sydney and Melbourne, active. There is a load balancer in place, so a bit of technical jargon, and this load balancer can do a few things. It can load balance the access into the portal, so just the login component, the portal component, but also your servers. So imagine the Genie server that I launched, let's call that server 1, and then there was a medical director, that's server 2. They're different servers. It's not the same server, but it's on the same screen, and I can launch them both at the same time. In the same token, we have clients, for example, with 108 staff. It's not practical or recommended that they all log into the same Genie server, right? So what we do is we create, we use the load balancer to do a round robin. So we have 3 or 4 servers. Our standard is 25 logins per server, and the load balancer basically distributes the logins. So if we have 108 staff logging in, they probably have 5 servers. The load balancer automatically takes their profile and puts it on one of these servers. So the servers are never loaded. If one server fails for whatever reason, the users are signed out and they can just sign in quickly into the next server with a new profile. And look, this is it for the demo. Obviously, we've had to run through it. Happy to do another one in more details around security and compliance. So thank you for your time.